how to factorize trinomials. Let's say, for example, we have the following trinomial: x squared plus 8x plus 15. So now when we talk about trinomials, we are talking about expressions that have three terms. But now we can only factorize a trinomial that is a specific trinomial. So now this trinomial, it must have the following standard format, which is ax squared plus bx plus c. So now if we have the first term as x squared, and then now the second term as only x, it doesn't matter what is the coefficient, and then we have the last term as a constant. Therefore, we know we have what? We have a trinomial that we can factorize by opening two brackets. So now let us learn how to factorize this trinomial. So we're going to open two brackets and then look at the first term, which is x squared. Then we're going to say, how can we write x squared? So we can write x squared by saying x multiplied by x. So you are putting the x on this side and the x on that side. Because remember, everything on this bracket will multiply with everything on the other side. So if you have x multiplied by x, therefore this will automatically give you x squared. So you can get back to what you had. So now the second step, it will be to look at the last term. So last term that we have is positive 15. So you're going to say now, we're going to look for the factors of positive 15. That when we add them, they give us the middle term. So now this last sign here, it determines if we can add the factors or subtract the factors. So if the sign is positive, this means we are going to look for the factors of 15 that when we add them, they give us the middle term, which is 8. And then we don't care about what is the sign here. We just care that we want to get 8. So now let us find the factors of 15. How do we find the factors of 15? We just say 15 divided by 1, and then we know that's going to be 1 and 15. And if you say 15 divided by 2, that is going to give you a decimal number, and we don't want decimal numbers. You're going to say now 15 divided by 3. Therefore, if you divide by 3, you get 5. So you have what? You have 3 and 5. And then if you move on like that, you will see now these are the only factors of 15 you have. So now between these factors that you have, you're going to take the factors that when you add them, they give you the middle term. So we can clearly see now 3 and 5, when we add them, they're going to give us the middle term, which is 8. So now we can put our factors to say now, this is 3 and 5. It doesn't matter how you put them. You can put them anyhow you want. And then the step that follows, it will be to say now, if my last term is positive, this means my factors are going to have the same sign. But the sign my factors going to have is the sign of what? Of the middle term. So now the middle term is positive and the last sign is positive. So the last sign is saying that our signs must be the same, and the middle term says that they must take my sign. So they are going to be both positive. And therefore, then you have factorized that problem. So now we can just test to see now if this method works. Let's simplify this and check if we'll get back to what we had. So we're going to say what? We're going to say x will multiply with x will multiply with 5, and then 3 will multiply with x, and 3 will multiply with 5. So we're going to have x multiplied by x, that will give us x squared. Then x multiplied by 5, that will give us plus 5x. And then 3 multiplied by x, that is going to give us 3x. And then lastly, 3 multiplied by 5, that is going to give us 15. So now we can see now we have the like terms here. So we're going to say we have x squared, 5x plus 3x, that is going to give us 8x. And then we have plus 15. So we can clearly see that this gets back it gets us back to what we had as our problem. So that means we have factorized our expression successfully. So now let us look at different problems. Please feel free to stop the video and try the problem before you look at how I do it. Let's say, for example, we have x squared minus 2x minus 15. So remember, we already know that this is a trinomial that can be factorized by opening two squares because we can see it follows the standard format. So we're going to open the two brackets and say what? How can we write the first term? So we can write the first term by saying x multiplied by x. And the next step will be, what are the factors of this last term, which is 15, that when we subtract them, they give us 2. So we're going to look at what? At the factors of 15. So now the factors of 15 is what? Is 1 multiplied by 15. So remember, you say 15 divided by 1, so that is 1 multiplied by 15. And you say 15 divided by 3, that is going to give you what? 3 and 5. So now these are the only factors that we have of 15. So now we're going to look at the factors that when we subtract them, they give us the middle term. So now we can clearly see that if we say 5 subtract 3, that is going to give us the middle term, which is 2. So we're going to take these factors and substitute them there. So we're going to have 3 and 5. Remember, it doesn't matter how you put them. So but now the next step, it will be to say now, my last sign is negative. Therefore, I'm going to have different signs. But now the bigger number will take the sign of the middle term. So the bigger factor is 5 here. So it's going to be negative because the middle term is negative. And then this one here is going to be different sign to the bigger number because the last sign is negative. If the last sign is negative, that means our signs are going to be different. And that is how you factorize that. So let us move on and look at the next example. Let's say, for example, we have x squared plus 2x minus 3. So now we are going to open two brackets and say, how can we write x squared? We can write x squared by saying x multiplied by x. So if we look at the last term is just a prime number. So their factors is just what? Is just 1 and 3. So automatically we can see now, we are looking for the factors of 3 that when we subtract, because the last sign is negative, when we subtract them, they give us the middle term. So we can see now 3 minus 1 is going to be 2. So those are the factors we are looking for. And then now, the last step, it will be to say now, the last sign is negative, therefore my factors are going to have different signs. But the bigger number will take the sign of the middle term. So the bigger factor is 3, so it's going to be positive, and therefore this one is going to be negative. So let us do the next example. Let's say, for example, we have a squared minus 7ab plus 12b. So now this is still the standard format of a trinomial that we can factorize. Because if we look at this, we have a squared, and then we have a here, and then we have what? We have a constant. So now don't worry about b. We are just going to treat b as if it's like we have 7, and then you just have 12 there. Because you see now it's 7b and 12b. So now, when we factorize this, we're going to open two brackets and say that, how can we write the first term? So a squared can be written as a multiplied by a. And then now the next step, it will be to find the factors of 12b, that when we add them, they give us what? They give us the middle term, of which is 7. So now what are the factors of 12? You know the 12 is going to be 1 multiplied by 12. And then you say what? 12 divided by 2, we get 6. So we have 2 and 6. Then if you say 12 divided by 3, you get 4. So that means you have 3 and 4. Then if you say 12 divided by 4, you will get back to these factors that we have. So these are all the factors that we have for 12. So now we are going to identify the factors that when we add them, because the last sign is positive, they give us the middle term, which is 7. So those factors, they're supposed to be what? 3 and 4. So now, if those factors are 3 and 4, we are just going to put what? We're going to put what? 3 and 4 anyhow we want. But now this problem here is supposed to have b squared here. I'm sorry about that. Okay? So now, this factors of ours is going to be what? It's going to be 3b and 4b. Because the factors of 12, they're supposed to be what? To be having a b. And then also the factors of 7, they must be have a b. So now we're going to say what? The last sign is positive. Therefore, we are going to have the same signs. But now we're going to take what? The sign of the middle term. So this is just going to be negative, negative. And therefore, if we can try to factorize this or simplify this, we will see that we're going to get back to what we had. So let's try and do that. We are going to say a multiplied by a, and then a multiplied by negative 4b. Then we say negative 3b by a, negative 3b by negative 4b. So a multiplied by a, that's going to give us a squared. A multiplied by negative 4b, that's going to be negative 4ab. And then negative 3b multiplied by a, that's going to be negative 3ab. And then lastly, the negative 3b multiplied by the negative 4b is going to give us what? It's going to give us positive 12b. So that is why I said we must have squared there. Because the b and b, when they multiply, they're going to give us the b squared. So we are supposed to have the b squared there. And then now we can add the like terms. So we're going to have what? We're going to have a squared, and then minus 4ab minus 3ab. That's going to give us minus 7ab. And therefore, we still have what? Plus 12b squared. So if we look at what we have here, it's the same thing as what we had as a problem. So therefore, that is how we factorize trinomials. Thank you very much.